Tony, we're into July and still very little hope.
Yeah, we are into July. You know, we're sort of pushing towards the middle of July, and we've had virtually no rainfall recharge to the groundwater system in Canterbury, particularly the area north of the Rangitata River, and all the way up into the Culverton Basin. We're really behind the eight ball when it comes to the rainfall recharge, which is what is the key driver of getting groundwater levels up, so that we've got water available for irrigation in the next
How's the North Island faring?
The area that was of real concern in terms of groundwater recharge is the central Hawke's Bay, so the sort of where the Ruataniwha Dam will be supplying water to. They've had a reasonable amount of rain in the last 10 days to 2 weeks. They got about 50 to 60 millimetres last week when Auckland and the Bay of Plenty got hammered. So they picked up about 50 or 60 millimetres in. They had about 10 to 20 millimetres the week before. So they're somewhere between 70 and 80 millimetres. So that's the sort of rainfall that's pretty useful at this time of the year to give them that area, that Ruataniwha Basin area, some groundwater recharge. But of course, it never made it here. It was all northerly and northeasterly rain, and the system swept across the top of the North Island, and then disappeared out to go and see somebody else in the Pacific, and didn't make its way down to the east coast of the South Island. Well,
you've spent hours and hours doing a graph. Let's have a look at the graph.
Yeah, so I've talked about this to some other groups already and it's a real concern, because if you look at the blue trace that's on this is water level for a bore, one of the monitor bores in the middle of the plains, sort of halfway between the coast and the mountains, and the pink area is where we have problems when the water levels get really low. So these are when we have problems. So
that's the pink levels are basically the low area.
Yeah. And so what I did was I decided I'd look at what rainfall we needed in that period from about the middle of April through to about the 1st of August, because if we don't get rainfall recharge by then, we could be into the irrigation season and starting to take water that hasn't quite got to the groundwater system yet. And so the bars, the black ones and the red ones, show us the amount of rain we've had in some of the previous seasons in that period of time.
So that's the black ones?
They're the black ones, and the red ones show that same rainfall. So the black ones, in this case, are good, not bad, because if you look at them carefully, then the groundwater, the next season following that, is high. So we get real big peaks in the water level, and therefore the volume of water that's available for irrigators and towns and domestic supplies. So this affects everybody. It's not just about the water for irrigation, because if we get really low groundwater levels, then it affects people's ability to get domestic water and stock water. So it affects right across the board. This is not just about irrigation. And then when you look at the red bars that are on this plot, then those are the years when we haven't had enough rainfall to give us substantial recharge or any recharge to the groundwater system.
And that's what we've got now.
And that's what we've got now. And right now we have the lowest rainfall recharge, or rainfall available for recharge, since in this case since about 1974. So this is pretty serious. We've got 30 odd years of record in here, and this is the lowest in the 30 years that we've had so far. And farmers will tell you, and those people that are involved in the land, that these things come in sequences. You don't get one and then get relief the next year. When you get droughts, for example, you get one and then invariably it gets followed up by another one, and it's the one that gets followed up. The follow-up one is the serious one, because you can get through that first one.
Yeah.
The second one's hard to get through.
And the third one is
devastating.
Exactly. This is going back to the 1980s, isn't it?
Oh yeah. But you can find this same pattern occurs in some of the. If you go back to some of the bores where we've got records from the 50s, we can find this pattern all the way back through to the 50s. So you get periods where we have very little rainfall recharge or very low rainfall during that winter recharge period, and then we get this without any irrigation in those days or any takes out of these, any takes of any sort, the water levels just get lower and lower and lower and lower. In fact, some of the very lowest water levels were recorded back in the early 1960s, and there was virtually no irrigation at all in those days. So it's not a result necessarily of irrigation, although that has exacerbated the problem a little bit now. It's the fact that we do not get these rainfall recharge events that we need during the winter.
Tony, please keep coming in so we can monitor. Thank you very much indeed.